Hi, this is Pastor Dave. Welcome to Persistent Hope. Persistent Hope is a 501c nonprofit that exists to find ways to share and show the love of Jesus Christ throughout Southwest Iowa. We believe strongly that Jesus Christ can make the difference in people's lives, and my prayer is always that this time together on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday will bring hope into your life. Now, last week we've started a discussion that we've continued all this week about God's sovereignty. God's sovereignty means that He rules over everything. His purposes will prevail. In the book of Daniel, chapter 4, it says this: "How great are His signs, how mighty His wonders. His kingdom is an eternal kingdom. His dominion endures from generation to generation." It's important we remember this because we live in a world filled with chaos and evil. God is Lord over creation, but there are still things that happen that are not His will. And that's why, if you want to follow Jesus Christ and give your life to Him, you have to walk by faith, because there are only so many options out there. Option number one, there is no God. Lots of people have concluded that. Option number two, there is a God, but He doesn't care enough to do anything, or if He does something, it's when He feels like it, and it's like He didn't even think of you when He did what He did. Option number three, God exists. He does love and care, and we were created in His image. I think it takes more faith to believe God does not exist. I think it takes more faith to believe that, God doesn't really care. You see, the reality is, even though things happen that are not God's will, He can and will carry out His purpose because He is God and He is sovereign. Did you hear the other week about the $1 million winning Iowa lottery ticket? Now, it became a winning ticket a year ago, but last week it expired because whoever had the winning ticket never turned it in. Now, as you know, there could be lots of reasons why that happened. It could have been thrown away so the person never knew. It could have been that something happened to the person that didn't allow them to turn it in. It could be they never took time to see the number because they were so used to not winning. But whatever it was, something of great value was never claimed. It is a priceless hope to know that God is sovereign, that His purpose will prevail, and that He will always love you, and He can always be trusted. Yes, things will happen that should not have happened. Things will happen that are not fair and cannot be explained. But that doesn't stop who God is. In fact, in those difficult situations, that's where you can go in faith to God and say, I'm going to trust you. I have an assignment for you as you go into the weekend. Take a moment today, bow your head and simply say, God, help me trust that you are always better than anything else I am going through. Help me trust that your ways are better than anything I'm facing. God bless. Okay, guys, as we wrap up this time on God's sovereignty, I think we need to remember, because a lot of times when people have gone through difficulties, I can't tell you how many people I've encountered that will say, I used to live for Jesus, I used to go to church, but something's happened. Maybe they were mistreated, maybe lots of fill-in-the-blank reasons, but suddenly God's not who He claimed to be, and they want nothing to do with Him. And again, as I shared with you the last time, we're tempted to want to give an answer. That's not what they need. You see, God doesn't need to be defended. You just have to recognize where people are at when they come to these conclusions. They're wrong. And they have an enemy that has whispered in their ear lying words of comfort. You're right. You're all alone. You're right. He doesn't love you. But can I remind you what the first verse of the Bible says? In the beginning, God. The enemy, like our culture, always wants to change the ground rule for the discussion. What did he say in the garden? When he started talking to Eve and said, "So, talk to me about the garden," and Eve said, "Da da 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 da, oh, and this tree here," and God has said, "Don't eat of it." And what's the enemy say? Did God really say that? Let's just change the discussion. Let's no longer give me a tour of the garden. Let's talk about, and then he goes from, do you think maybe God's scared if you bite of this fruit? Do you think God's trying to cheat you out of something? Always trying to move the argument from here to there. And the reason why I don't believe God exists is because back then this happened. No, no. The Christ follower has to be careful to remember that we should be the only people that remain unmoved in our confidence in God, even when everything around us shouts out that God is not being kind, God is not being fair, God did not answer prayer, God has not come through. Look at all the songs today that talk about it. Remember that Third Day song? I would have thought by now you would have come in and saved the day, but it's still raining. That's because, oh, how easy it is to feel what's going on around us, to carry that weight of that person's pain and somehow want to do something, but you never win an argument or a debate. People will never be convinced they're wrong. What you do is show them the hope that you have. See, that's why in Peter he said this, always be prepared. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks, to give a reason for the hope that you have. So, what a funny way to word that verse. It's odd, but it's in the Greek doing something intentional. It's painting a word picture. Here's what it's actually saying. Something has happened where people are watching you and waiting for you to lose hope. It's obvious to all around you what has happened is far greater than you can bear, far more unjust, unkind, whatever. And there you are, living in strength and security and trusting God. And that prompts them to say, how can you still have hope? And that's what Peter's saying here. Listen again to the verse. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. You know why they see the reason you have hope that doesn't make sense? They see you in situations that seem hopeless. Or they come to you with their situation that seems hopeless, and they see you point to the one who can give them hope. We can make such a difference in our road for Jesus Christ because of the hope we have in him. I'm praying for you that God allows you to do that in your sphere of influence. God bless.